If you love boxing, you're gonna love this.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 2 of the BoxNation podcast. I'm your host, Dev Sahni. This week, Steve Lillis unfortunately can't be with us, but fear not, BoxNation fans, as stepping in is a man who knows a thing or two about boxing. He's a man who is a former WBO Super Featherweight Champion of the world, and he has turned into a boxing pundit and commentator extraordinaire. It's Mr. Barry Jones.
That's very good. I like that.
That's all right, wasn't it?
I listened to the podcast last week,
Yeah.
and that's a better intro than Steve Lillis's. But then, to be fair, I think I deserve it.
Oh, Steve won't like that. Hey, how you getting on, Barry? You good?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Yeah, looking forward to this, and looking forward to the schedule we got coming up as well, which is quite exciting.
Lots of great stuff coming up, and in today's episode we've got some exclusive interviews with Anthony Yarde. Steve Lillis was on the road, he caught up with James DeGale, Gary Corcoran, and we hear from Frank Warren as well as Billy Joe Saunders as Billy Joe prepares for his clash with David Lemieux on December the 16th in Montreal. Firstly, we're going to kick off with a weekend review. Barry, now, before we even look at wins for Manuel Charr and Sergey Kovalev, in Thailand, the WBC World Minimum Weight Champion Wanheng Manayothin, and you'll have to pardon my pronunciation there, he improved to 49-0. He's been the world champion since November 2014. Talk to me about Mr. Wanheng Manayothin.
It's a funny thing because he's 49-0. You know, he might get to 50, 51, and then he beats Floyd Mayweather's record. Obviously, he'll beat Marciano's record then, most definitely. And then he ends up being the fighter with the longest undefeated record if he were to retire, of course, undefeated. But you look at his record and you think a fight or two ago he beat the guy who had sort of 44 losses, and then you think, what's the quality? Where does this thing end? But he still technically will be the longest undefeated record. But then, you know, you look at the names on Mayweather's record compared to his, and they're laughable. Mm-hmm. But then Mayweather's got to 50-0 by beating a guy who never boxed before, so that's laughable. And then you look at Marciano's record, and he was a great champion, but some of his defences were also laughable. Where does it end? You know, it's one of those things, isn't it, that you just if it's on record, you have to give him the credit for it, and to beat 49. To beat one person 49 times is good going. So, you know, to get there, he deserves respect for it, and those guys at the lower weights never get any credit. So I think it'd be quite nice, actually, that it's not a huge name, not a huge star of world boxing, ends up with the record as the longest undefeated champion in the history of the sport.
It's quite a record. Do you think he'll be tempted to just fight an absolute nobody to just get to that record?
Well, I think at that weight, you don't really have any choice.
Yeah.
Who you fight, because they're so sparse that you might end up fighting somebody who's useless, or you might end up fighting the next Roman Gonzalez. It's that sort of thing. Yeah, you just don't know. You have to take what's on offer.
Well, Mr. Wanheng Manayothin, we salute you, improving to 49-0. Good luck with the record. And also this weekend, Barry, you were commentating on this show. It was Manuel Charr against Alexander Ustinov for the WBA heavyweight title. How did it go for you?
Well, first of all, the tag for us being a champion of the world seems a little bit stretched, let's be honest. But at the same time, it was an entertaining fight. Because it lacked the real quality, either fighter, to be maybe where a Joshua is, let's be honest, or certainly a Tyson Fury, that's for sure, of skill levels. But it was entertaining, and Manuel Charr used a strange tactic where I thought he'd really have to go at Ustinov to put the pressure on, and he had the footwork that Pulev had. Pulev beat Ustinov, who's a giant, by using the fast feet and going in and out and drawing the lead. And I thought, well, Charr can't do that, but he tried to do it, and it didn't sort of half worked and half didn't. In the first half of the fight, it was pretty even, but the second half, he sort of started to take over and looked, to be honest, he looked really, really strong, and he had a tremendous jab, Manuel Charr, better jab than I can remember him having before. So so he got the win, and he got the deserved win, and he's done himself proud to be a world champion from a guy who really, was a decent fighter, and he's had some good tests, some good hard fights. Obviously, Vitaly Klitschko give him a real run for his money, but you didn't really think he'd ever be a world champion, and especially when Marius Bredos beat him as a cruiserweight, then you thought, well, he's not really a big heavyweight, Manuel Charr, and that was his time done. And this looked for me like a fight where Ustinov was a massive favourite.
Well, great story for Charr, because only 2 years ago he was shot in a kebab shop, I believe in Turkey, and I don't think he was expected to really box again, let alone become a world champion.
Just weird things like that, because you sort of think, he's been shot and lucky to be alive, they say, and then lucky to be able to do sports again, but the sports little with massive things like that, inspirational stories where through adversity they become a better all-rounded fighter. Maybe they take it more serious, maybe they train harder, because or the fear factor that used to be there is not there anymore because I've been shot. Maybe they don't have that sort of little bit tepid to do things that they wouldn't do before. They go, and I think Manuel Charr certainly showed a bit of steel in his work, especially in the second half of the fight. He got the win, but when you sort of think of some of the top heavyweights, which is they're not massive amount of quality in the heavyweight division, let's be honest, but the good ones are good. And I can't see where Charr makes a look in. I think he has to fight Fresequendo, who will not go away.
He will not
ever go away. He'll be still fighting for world titles long after I'm dead, I'm pretty sure.
Well, you'll find he's mandatory. He might not actually get to fight for it, but you'll see the reports.
He'll always be around, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, and again, he's not a bad fight, but he's nowhere near world championship quality. But you tend to think that Wilder, even Parker, who's probably the worst out of the bunch, and obviously Joshua is the top of the tree, they would beat Charr quite easy, I would have thought, and so would Tyson Fury if he comes back. Hughie Fury, I think, would beat Manuel Charr, and even someone like Dillian Whyte, who I said on the night, I'm not sure if Dillian Whyte's a real talent or just average. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying he is average. I'm just saying it's hard to tell with Dillian Whyte how actually good he is.
Yeah,
he could be the real deal, or actually just not as good as well. Maybe
might flatter to deceive a tad.
Yeah. It's strange things. We want to see him in a test, but listen, you'd probably put him favoured against Manuel Charr, to be honest. Or certainly before that performance, that's for sure. But it was a good win. It was a good win there for Sam Maxwell.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
And I think, listen, the win was never in doubt for Sam Maxwell. He was always going to win that fight, but the manner in which he composed himself, took his time. Listen, he's 29 years of age, and he's got a wealth of experience in the amateurs and the WSB. He went 10 rounds with Vasyl Lomachenko, and I think he nicked a couple of rounds as well, certainly in the first fight. And but he never won them, but he done really well and competed against a guy who's one of the best men who ever laced a pair of gloves.
Absolutely.
But he looked really good, really impressive. Took his time, controlled. He using a lot of power, long right hands. Was dropping his opponent, and he kept his distance really well. I thought it was a real mature performance from a guy who can be moved on quicker. And Ryan Hatton looked good as well. Another kid who's was 20, 21. Ryan Hatton.
Yeah, trains with Tommy Langford.
Really good. Again, he finished with some beautiful body shots, fantastic shots. But again, didn't get too close, didn't rush his work against a guy he knew he could beat, but still took his time. And when a young fighter shows a little bit of maturity and keeps their distance and don't get over panicked and rush their work, then you think this kid might have a bit of a future. And I think Ryan Hatton and certainly Sam Maxwell are names to look out for.
Well, Manuel Charr wasn't the only newly crowned world champion this weekend just gone. Sergey Kovalev picked up the WBO light heavyweight belt, a belt that I think he lost to Andre Ward, and now he's fought for it again. Did you watch that performance?
I did. He was it's a fight. Again, another fight. It was hard for him to lose, but it was all about how Kovalev bounced back from the defeat against Ward. Because the second defeat was quite a crushing one for him. He's called Crusher himself, isn't he? But he looked like fearless again. He
looked like the old Crusher.
He did, and he looked really good. And it's funny because just before he dropped Shabransky, dropped him. Shabransky just hit with a really solid left jab, and it just knocked him back a little bit. Kovalev put him back on his heels, and then he sort of said, "That'll do though. You watch this." Give him a big right hand, and then from there on in, I think he was down twice in the first, and then it was all going to be all over for him. Then he got Shabransky did well to sort of get up and try and fight back, but it was game over then once that bell came out for the second. He was a hunted man. But listen, the Kovalev's good, and the light heavyweight division is really good, and it seems that all those Ukrainian, Russian type boxers are sort of dominating at the minute. So it looks exciting for me.
And Kovalev, I think he's up for fighting all of them. If you watch the post-fight interview with Max Kellerman, he was like, yeah, Bivol, Beterbiev, bring it on. And that's refreshing to hear from a newly crowned champion.
Well, Bivol looked really good, but then again, he hasn't been really tested. Beterbiev has been tested early in his career. No real quick run he's had. He's had almost like a Lomachenko run
to
the world title. Yeah, Tavoris Cloud and the other fella as well. He boxed whose name I cannot remember, but this is a bit of a live podcast. There's no problem with that. But he also, I think he didn't look the destructive monster Beterbiev in his last fight as we've seen in the past against Enrico Colin. So I think that a full Kovalev full of confidence. But I think Kovalev is a confident fighter. He's an arrogant man. I don't think he's a nice man, and I think that portrays in the ring because he goes in there with one thing on his mind, and that's to hurt you.
Well, he is the newly crowned WBO light heavyweight champion of the world, the WBO Intercontinental and WBO European champion at that weight is our own Mr. Anthony Yarde from Ilford. He's 13-0 with 12 knockouts. And the first thing I asked Mr. Anthony Yarde, do you think your career is being rushed?
I don't think I'm being rushed. I feel like the public want me to be rushed. Because sometimes people that have the biggest opinion are people with the least knowledge or experience about boxing, and I feel like with Tunde around me, Frank around me, we don't buy into peer pressure, so I'm going at the rate I want to go at.
Do you ever wish you were a footballer? Because I know you started a bit of football.
I'm so happy with the way my life turned out. That's why sometimes they say that you never know how your life's going to end up. When I was a young child, very inexperienced in terms of experience in life, I wanted to be a footballer, but now I've seen the two different lifestyles and the lives and how they operate. I'm so happy I'm a boxer now.
We're glad you chose boxing.
Oh yeah.
When you look at light heavyweights both domestically and internationally, I know you don't look too deeply, but what does stand out? Tell me domestically first. Obviously, the light heavyweight champion in Britain is your good mate Frank Buglioni. Does he have any attributes that stand out to you? Do you think, oh yeah, he's all right actually? Or?
No, he's just a nice guy. You know, it's always good to be a nice guy. So he's in terms of a personality, in terms of, I think he calls himself the wise guy. I just know him to be, you know, he's a friendly, nice guy. Inside and outside the ring, so that's his positive, I think.
So you see him as the cream of the crop, well, other than yourself, British level wise?
I can't really tell you because I need to fight these people in order to judge them. So when you're fighting other people, I can't really judge you because I can fight the opponents he's fought and do a better job, I believe. So again, I can't really judge.
Kovalev is back after back-to-back defeats against Andre Ward. He's fighting for the WBO light heavyweight title. You are the WBO Intercontinental and European champion, highly ranked. How far away are you from fighting a Kovalev?
Everything's timing. I don't know how far I am away from fighting Kovalev. You don't know. Nobody knows because I could have a fight like that within my next 3 fights. I could have a fight like that within my next 8 fights, 9 fights. So, you know, I say everything's timing. This time last year, I didn't think I was going to be in this position. I didn't think I was going to be in this position yet. So again, that's why I don't think of timing. I think I know what the end result's going to be, but in terms of a time period, I don't know.
And if you stop your next opponent, Nicholas, first I've got to ask you, how does it feel to be fighting someone called Nicola?
You know.
But more importantly, if you stop Nicholas Sedge-Lockwood, does that make you the best light heavyweight in Britain?
I think I'm the best light heavyweight in Britain anyway. That's again not being cocky or arrogant. You have to have belief in yourself, and if you don't believe, Floyd said this, if you don't believe you're the best, you're in the wrong sport. I feel like I've done the most in a short space of time. I'm talking about in the world. I don't think there's any professional boxer in any weight class that's had as limited experience as me, professional and amateur, that's accomplished what I've accomplished at this stage in my career.
Well, Barry, Anthony believes he is the #1 light heavyweight in Britain. Agree or disagree?
But I'm not sure, to be honest. He has until he, like he said himself, until he fights somebody, he doesn't know how good they are. But until he fights a certain people, we don't know how good he is. Let's be brutally honest. He looks tremendous, Anthony Yarde. I've been very impressed, especially not so much with his power, because listen, he's got power. That's there. It's his patience in his work. You know, he gets said people are there early, doesn't rush his work at all. And I spoke about this earlier on, you know, with prospects not rushing their work, and that shows, you know, they have loads of potential. And I think that's the same with Anthony Yarde. He just never rushes his work, takes his time, but still finishes things early. And I think that's an impressive trait. But until he's been in the wars, until he's had these fights where, you know, he has to dig deep, has to take shots, people don't fall over as easy, which will happen. It comes for all the big punches. It happens to all of them. Then we'll see how good he actually is.
And a win against Nicolas Sedge-Locker on December the 9th at the Copper Box Arena. Is that a statement? If he gets it, stops him?
If he stops him, yeah, I think it is. Listen, he's getting this guy who's been durable against quality opposition. He's probably getting him later on in his career, so he's not the same fighter that he was. But this is good matchmaking, and I think it is a good test, and it's the right test for Anthony Yarde. For me, I think it's a test he should have had maybe 3 fights ago. And I know he said that himself. He hasn't had a wealth of experience, amateur experience either. But once you get past a certain level, that's tough. People don't remember that. You can't keep going on forever. Yeah, but I didn't have all that amateur experience. Well, you know, that's your fault, or not your fault, but that's just the way things are. It is what it is. At the end of the day, things just become excuses rather than reasons why. But he's been great, and I've been well impressed with him. And I think this is a test. It's a test that he will overcome. But we want to see him in with fighters like Buglioni, and I understand. You know, neither guy wants to give any ground, and they both want the bigger purse, and one wants it on their platform where they're fighting, and one wants it on the other platform where they're fighting, and promotionally it might be difficult to make. And I understand that Anthony Yarde's also getting a world rating with the WBO, so yeah, he'll see a British title as a step down, which is not really, but he'll see it that way if he gets a high world rating. But you got to be careful you don't get there too soon, because he's not going to be Kovalev. The Anthony Yarde of today will not be Sergey Kovalev of today. That's a fact. And nor will Frank Buglioni, who's also boxed for the world title a little bit too early in his career. He did tremendously well, but he got pretty handily beat by Chudinov. But he's had that experience, and he's grown from it. And I think Anthony Yarde would, but I think he doesn't need to. I think a British European fight for him would be perfect right now.
Okay, well, his fight against Nicolas Sedge-Locker, which is somewhat of a step up. Sedge-Locker has never been stopped before as a professional. That will be on December the 9th. It will be live on BoxNation, and there are still some tickets available at frankwarren.com. The show is at the Copper Box Arena, and the headlines are James DeGale against Caleb Truax, and Lee Selby against Eduardo Ramirez. Daniel Dubois also features. That's a big show being put on by Frank Warren. We caught up with Frank. Well, Steve Lillis, our esteemed and missing colleague today, caught up with Frank last week.
Next week, James DeGale defending his super middleweight title against Caleb Truax.
Yeah, he's been out the ring, as you know, for a year. He had an operation on his rotator cuff and another part of his shoulder. So this is his first fight back from that injury. He's a decent opponent for him, Truax. I expect him to come through the fight. At least I hope he does come through it, and hopefully we can continue working together. You know, it was funny to be sitting at a press conference a little while ago, and he referred to me as Uncle Frank, which I thought was quite funny. But he's done well. He's been our road warrior, isn't he? He's been on the road must be a couple of years now, and to be coming back here and having his homecoming with me, I'm delighted with that. And the fact it's also in London at a great venue in the Copper Box, I'm sure. Be a great reception for him.
Willie, is it just the one fight at the moment? Or
we're seeing how we're going. I'm working with Al Heyman, and we'll see how we're going with it. But if it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. But I hope it will continue.
Also, Lee Selby, who's got a fight, people expect him to win against Eduardo Ramirez when he defends his world featherweight title. But there's a lot of pressure on Lee with what there could be for him next year.
He's a tough Mexican. He's not fighting a slouch, is he? He's got a good record, the guy. So hopefully, I want him to come for it because I want him in with Josh Warrington. You know, that's the mandatory challenger for his IBF title. So that's what I want to happen. We've got a deal in place. So. that's the way forward. I mean, it'd be great for the British fans as well to see a fight like that.
I mean, because Lee's he's a great talent, but he hasn't got the name people like Frampton, even Warrington have got. Whereas he went and if he in 2018 he beat them, he would be a household name.
He would be, but well, hopefully now he's with us. You know, we're promoting him that he'll get some recognition on the 9th. But obviously, I want my man Josh to beat him when they get together. I'm with Josh Warrington, and that's how it is.
Billy Joe Saunders has been crying for a major marquee fight. He's got that against David Lemieux in Canada. It's also on HBO. Was it a big decision to let him go to Canada? Because the odds are you'd have won the purse bids with 80-20 to play with.
Absolutely, we would have done. There's no doubt about that. But we made that decision. We spoke about it, and we'd have won it 80-20 over here, but we would have had to go prime time UK time. And the fact that there's an opening there on HBO where he'll get some fantastic exposure, that was the deciding point, and he's getting very well paid to go there. And more importantly, I think the exposure he gets, and if he wins this fight, which I really think is a tough fight, but I think he's capable of winning, he wins this fight and he wins it in style, then I think it's going to be. It will force the issue to fight the winner of Golovkin and Canelo.
You also got Gary Corcoran in a big fight before the end of the year when he goes to Brisbane, fights Jeff Horn. He seems one of those fighters, Gary, who would fight anybody.
Oh, I'm not being after time. I've always said what I like about Gary. All you say to him, right, this is the fight. So what's the date and when and how much am I getting? That's all he was interested in. He'll go and fight them. It's not like, let's have a look at it. I don't fancy this. I'll fight him. And he stepped up to the plate. And if we'd have made this fight, say, a year ago for the Commonwealth title, everybody would have said, what a great Commonwealth title fight that is. And some people may have fancied Gary to win it or not. He put a great win together, Jeff Horn, in beating Pacquiao. Albeit, from my point of view, it was a Pacquiao who had seen better days. But he did what he had to do. And let's hope that Gary can go over there and win the fight, because it won't be for the one to try.
Was he a bit unlucky, Bradley Skeet, not getting the fight?
Well, they didn't want Bradley. We tried that. Obviously, Bradley's higher in the ratings, and that's the fight we pushed to start with. And we thought we had it done, but they decided they didn't want the fight, and they put out some various reasons. But I really didn't want him. I think they felt that he had the beating of Horn. So with Bradley, what we've got to do now is move him to get him into the position where he becomes a mandatory challenger, and hopefully he'll get that opportunity to fight one of the winners.
Before we let you go, I've got to ask you about one other fight, fantastic fight coming up on BoxNation December 9. Lomachenko and Rigondeaux. Who's going to win that?
Well, my favourite fighter is, as you know, and been saying it for 2 or 3 years now, or since he turned pro. I loved him as an amateur. It's Lomachenko. I think Rigondeaux is a great fighter. He's coming up a weight. I think he'd be comfortable at the weight, but I just think that I think Lomachenko's. I think he's outstanding. The angles he finds, the positions he gets himself into, the shots he lets go. You think he was you think he'd had 40 pro fights. I mean, what's he had now? About 9, I think. He's amazing. He's an amazing fighter, and I think that Lomachenko is one of the outstanding fighters. Will be an outstanding fighter of his generation.
Well, that was Frank Warren there, in great form as ever. Barry, since I've got you with me, there's one thing I want to ask you. The last fight he talked about was Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux. Live on the Channel of Champions BoxNation on December the 9th. Who are you picking, Barry Jones?
Lomachenko, and the reasons being why everyone's picked Lomachenko is he's bigger. No, that's the lazy way to go about it. The easiest thing to go. Lomachenko, Rigondeaux, both geniuses in their own right. Pick the guy who's bigger, and I've done that. But I also think when you look into it, I think he's just. No, I don't say he's technically better, but he'll force the fight. I think Rigondeaux, pound for pound, is the bigger puncher. I think he's more explosive in his work. I think Lomachenko wears you. I think he can hurt you, but I think he wears you down, breaks your hat, and forces you to quit, which he's done for his last 3 opponents. I think. But I think Rigondeaux got more spite in his work when he wants to. The problem with Rigondeaux is because he's so clever, he forgets to work sometimes because he is so good, and he can make you miss. He can stand on a 50 pence piece and make you miss all day long, and I think he gets into a bad rhythm of things like that at times. I'm talking about genius here, and critiquing a genius, and I feel embarrassed for doing that. But that's what I think. I think Rigondeaux will have to try and fight Lomachenko. Lomachenko will come at him and probably give him some opportunities to land. So I think Rigondeaux will. I think it'd be a more entertaining fight than people give it credit for, because you tend to think they both cancel each other out because they can both be very defensive. Lomachenko can make you miss as easy as anybody can, and Rigondeaux can be really negative at times. But I think Lomachenko will force him to fight, and that's what I think. That's why I think the size will come into it. That Rigondeaux will catch him some good shots, but Lomachenko I think takes a good shot. And I think he would just put a lot of pressure on him, and I think with the angles he moves around as well, it'll be interesting to see when he does put under pressure. And the movement that Rigondeaux does have defensively, more importantly, is brilliant. He makes that big arc, a big step, and gets in the centre of the ring. He goes from the back of the ropes to the centre of the ring with one movement. It's brilliant.
The Matrix, they call him. So rightly.
No, I'm on about Rigondeaux now. Sorry, yeah, the movement he has is brilliant because his feet move so fast in and out.
Yeah.
I know the Matrix is Lomachenko, and he can make you miss right in front of you, but there's such a wide stand that Rigondeaux has, and the movement he gets is quite amazing. It'll be, but I still think, for me, to answer your question a long way round, I think Lomachenko gets the win, and I wouldn't be shocked if it was a stoppage.
Well, do you think it's a bit sad? I mean, I feel a bit sad for Rigondeaux. Like, he had that what appeared to be a huge win against Nonito Donaire, but I think that was like 2009 now, and he's been crying out for like a career-defining fight since then. It's now 2017. He's having to jump up to 2 weight divisions. It might even be more than that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's well. The only plus there, I don't think Lomachenko's a massive super featherweight. To be fair, though he'll go up. I'm pretty sure Lomachenko, but I don't think he's a massive bloke. So that helps Rigondeaux, but Rigondeaux's tiny. No, and you're talking from a small guy here. Calling him tiny. He's tiny, and he has to chase the money. I understand that he has to chase the fights, and he's not getting no fights anywhere else. I don't know whose fault that is. I know American TV, the paymasters, they weren't happy with his work. I can't believe they weren't happy with the Nonito Donaire fight. I don't think it was a barnstormer, but I thought it was quite intriguing. I think there was
an Agbeko fight after that, which was particularly boring.
Yeah, and some of the ones before that, he's been really negative, and and he's had to travel to Japan and got dropped and got up and obviously in the business. But I don't know. But Cubans, if you're going to put them with all Cuban boxers in one stereotype, and notoriously hard to deal with, I think. A lot of them sort of don't see him until they've spent all their money until the last fight, and then they're trained for the next one. That tends to be their ethos. But I don't know whether Rigondeaux's the same sort of way. But he's a brilliant fighter, and we want to see more of him. And even if he gets beat, I still think he can still be a brilliant fighter. He's not young anymore. I know he's getting on, that's for sure.
I think he's ever been young, has he?
No, he's never looked. I know he's never looked younger. He's one of those guys, to be fair. But I think he can still be competitive because the way there's no miles on the clock with Rigondeaux. He's barely taken a punch in his life. But he will have to take some on December the 9th. He'll take some shots, and he'll be under pressure. And I think I just fancy Lomachenko.
And that is a fight that is live on BoxNation. So if you want to watch that, you go to BoxNation.com. Subscribe to the channel. It's just £12 per month. That's in the UK and Ireland, and you can enjoy Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux. Earlier on that night, there is James DeGale and Lee Selby headlining a show at the Copperbox Arena. That's James DeGale's comeback fight after not being in action since January, a draw with Badu Jack. Steve Lillis caught up with James DeGale.
Well, next up you say is Caleb Triax. Is that the ideal opponent for you coming back from this injury? Will you be nervous going in the ring, letting that right hand go? You're showing us how good it is, and in training, you're still going to be nervous the first time you let it go with those gloves on.
Of course I will. But I've done all the sparring, all my strength is healed up well. I've got the go ahead from the doctor and the physio. So yeah, it just feels, my left shoulder now feels better than my right. I'm doing my strength when I'm on a bag and sparring. My right feels better than my left now. So in a couple of years, I'm probably have to get that one done. But for the time being, I'm nice, fit, healthy, so I'm happy.
And great to be back in London, where you say you might have got booed at the start of your career. Now you're loved here.
Yeah. As I said, man, I've turned people's opinion around. And that's just purely because I've stopped the talking and I've been performing in the ring. And obviously, going off that last fight as well against Badu Jack, I had to show something else. I had to show a bit of that. I had to show some heart, a good chin. I had to show that I can dig deep, and that when it gets hard, I can pull it out of the bag, and that's what I've done.
Although your sort of face didn't look its usual pretty self afterwards, coming through a war like that with one arm, even though it ended up a draw, was that like, I've showed you, that's a badge of courage? I think Eubank used to say swollen eye was a badge of courage.
If I'm being honest, after the fight, I wasn't pleased with myself. I was a bit down because I've always said Badou Jack, really, I should be beating Badou Jack and beating him well, but I was injured, I got through it and I come up with my belt. So I'm just pleased I've done it. But no, yeah, it was nice actually, because a lot of people doubted my heart and if I had the balls, and I sure did show that I've got them in that fight. Obviously, my shoulder, my teeth. Remember, my teeth come out in the 8th round, hit me with an uppercut hook, and my teeth. I see my teeth on the floor, and it just shows you what kind of mindset I've got to go through the rest of the fight, dig deep, and come through.
So what is it after this? Is it Benavides, or are you going to go straight for the World Series winner?
No, Benavides next year. That's the first stop. I've spoken to Al already, and I said, Al, are you going to make that fight? Can you make that fight? And he said, James, that is the plan. So as soon as I've dealt with Truex, first stop in 2018 is Benavides.
Every time, a lot of things made Mickey taking of Al Heyman when box say, I thank Al Heyman in the ring. Tell me why you thank Al Heyman.
I give Al a thank because he's treated me extremely well. He's delivered everything that he said, and he's paying me extremely well as well. Yeah, so I'm just thankful for him. I'm lucky enough that I get to speak to him regularly. Whenever I want to call him, I can call him. So I've got a good relationship with him. So I'm just thankful for him, man. He's done a lot for me in the 2 years I've been with him. He's done a lot.
And finally, end of 2018, massive pay-per-view fight likely against the World Series winner. Who's going to be in the other corner?
Tough one. But I'm in a win-win because the winner is going to be a British fighter. I've said at the beginning Callum Swift's going to win, but it's a close one. I think him or Groves, but whoever comes through, it's going to be a wicked fight at the end of next year. So I look forward to it.
And we spoke with Lee Selby last week. He said, I asked what it was like being on your bill. He said, you and him are the best two technical boxers in Britain. What's your opinions of Lee Selby?
I love Lee Selby, he's the man. And he knows he's boxing if he says that. But no, listen, Lee Selby, he's probably one of them fighters that he probably don't get the credit as well. The guy's quality, skillful. And yeah, I really, really like Lee. So yeah, I think he's going to go a long way. And yeah, the future is bright.
Well, Wednesday the 13th of December. Doesn't sound like the sort of day that there'd just be a world title fight on, but there is. Jeff Horn versus Gary Corcoran. We're likely to be on air at about 11 AM. I think that's the latest running order that came in. We'll be on air on BoxNation at 11 AM. And we actually caught up with Gary Corcoran, the WBO World Welterweight Championship challenger, a little earlier.
Gary, your fight against Jeff Horn, challenging for the WBO Welterweight title. How confident are you?
Very confident beating him. I think I'm going to do a job on him. And I think he's just, he beat Pacquiao, who's the end of his career and into his politics, and I think I'm going to beat him.
When he was over in Australia at the press conference, did you get any vibe from him at all about his confidence, what mood he's in?
He's very quiet fella, but I just think he's there to be beat, and I think I'm going to be the fella to beat him.
I thought Bradley Skeet was going to get the fight, but it come your way. Was you surprised when you got the call?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was out shopping with the missus. Right across, and I got a phone call. Do you want to fight Jeff Horn? I was like, what? Fight Jeff Horn? So I said, yeah, go on, I'll fight him. That's no problem. Because I was looking at him a few weeks ago. I said, whoever gets him, he's very beatable there for the world title. I've got it, so happy days.
Did you not bother asking how much money first, or did you say yes?
I said yes. And then see what check it was after it. So yeah, I was happy just to get it. Now beat him, big things ahead.
I mean, obviously it's a there's nice money, but if you win it, you'll set yourself up for life with a fight against somebody like Terence Crawford, won't you?
Yeah, I'm not looking ahead of this fella, but he is. He's talking about 3 fights. Well, I'm just looking at him to beat him up, and see what happens after it.
Fantastic time for travelling fighters. Just after before you, Billy Joe Saunders goes to fight David Lemieux for the WBO middleweight title, which he defends. Who wins that fight?
Billy Joe beats him on points, and good job as well.
And what sort of fan base you take into Australia? All the raucous Corcoran clan going?
Yeah, my family's coming, and a lot of people are coming. And there's a lot. I think you see a lot of people. You might find a lot of travellers over there as well. So, and you might find the Barmy Army over there. So it'd be good. Yeah, it'd be quite good to go over there.
Well, Gary Corcoran mentioned there that he thinks that perhaps Jeff Horn is overlooking him and looking past him to bigger fights. You know, Terence Crawford's been made the mandatory. Barry, is Jeff Horn overlooking Gary Corcoran?
Well, of course he is. He's picked Corcoran, hasn't he? You know, he's just won the title against Pacquiao with a tremendous win. As disputed as it was a tremendous win. Fantastic. And he all of a sudden now he's gone from nowhere to being a world champion with and earning some big money. So he gets a defence at home again. So he picks the easiest option he's allowed. In his mind, which is Gary Corcoran, and so he goes in a massive favour because he's at home. He's on record. He's beat a better fighter in Pacquiao than Corcoran will ever be, even now. And that's no respect to Corcoran. Even the Pacquiao today beats most welterweights in the world anyway. Even though he's way past his sell-by date. Sure. But no, I think Gary's a massive welterweight. He's big and he's strong. And he's hard to beat. And I think Jeff Horn, if he just thinks he's going to walk in there, not work him and stop him, it will come unstuck. I'm pretty sure of that. I don't think Gary's a big puncher. I think that's what lets Gary down, is that whoever strong he is and as fit and determined he is, and he's a great chin himself. If you remember, he's been boxing at light middleweight and being a welterweight, really, Gary, and walking, not through, but walking up against and competing against people like Dean Williams, who's really a middleweight, really, boxing at light middleweight. So he's been given away 2 weights in some fights, technically. I think that he will show Horn something that he's not expecting. I think Gary can be a little bit of a smarter fighter than we all give him credit for, to be fair. But ultimately, his strength and determination is what's going to make this fight. If it's going to be close, that's what's going to make it close. Is that he's going to try and just enforce himself on Horn. Horn is really more, again, not a huge punch himself, but his work rate's quite tremendous. And his resolve's pretty good. Just remember, I think it was the 9th round against Pacquiao. I think it was the 9th round.
Out on his feet.
He was out on his feet, and he was done. He was spent, and then he come out and won the next round. So he shows he got the resolve and the steel that you need to be a champion. But you got to favour Horn. You have to favour Horn. He's at home, and just their last fight alone, he beats Pacquiao, and Corcoran beats a good fighter, but domestically, Larry Akandao, in a close fight, but he deserved win. So, yeah, but listen, it's a world title shot. What are you going to do? Turn it down?
Well, that's it, exactly.
You're going to turn it down. I had the same thing. I had a phone call from someone from Frank Warren's office 20 years ago. It was, I think, 21 years ago. No, it was 20 years ago. Do you want to fight for the world title? And I said yes and put the phone down. Didn't know who, when, or how much. I didn't even care.
Did you call back? Surely
no,
you must have
got a phone. My father said, "No, who you fight?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "How much?" "I don't know." "When is it?" "I don't know, Dad."
What weight?
Yeah, what weight? Because to be honest, I was only
didn't mention that.
I was a featherweight, really, boxing super featherweight. Yeah, so that was it. Then I got the call, and then I got maybe an undeserved one. I won a world title. That's what happened to Gary. You got to go the other side of the world to do it, and it's a lot harder than what I had to do. But listen, we wish him all the luck. That's the only thing with boxing. The good and bad. People get shots they don't deserve. Sometimes don't always deserve. It happens all the time, not just for Gary. But also the magic of it, that this a guy here who's looking to maybe get a British title shot goes the other side of the world and becomes a world champion, and his life changes overnight. It's the magic of that. And just before Christmas,
it'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Oh, unbelievable! What a Christmas he'll have.
It's almost like the perfect storm of ingredients. You've got a newly crowned world champion. He won it in almost controversial circumstances. He thinks he's got an easy first defence. Gets Corcoran goes over, could shock the world. And also he gets, now I don't know how it works promotionally, but then they obviously, you've got Terence Crawford, one of the best fighters on the planet, has moved up the weight. He's #1 contender. Yeah. No, Gary will maybe have to go to America again then to defend against Crawford. Mm-hmm. But what sort of money he's going to get for that? Life-changing,
more,
I'm sure.
mega money.
Yeah.
You're going to talk about life-changing money there all of a sudden, and your life changes overnight. And listen, he's a nice fella, Gary, and I wish him all the best. And I think he'll come back with a badge of honour, if not a belt with him. But he'll definitely come back with a badge of honour. He won't let himself down, regardless of the result. He will not let himself down. I can guarantee that.
Well, that is a fight that you can watch on Wednesday, the 13th of December. We'll be live on air at 11 a.m. Jeff Horn defends his WBO World Welterweight title against Wembley's Gary Corcoran. Now, this time of the show, normally I would ask Steve Lillis, "What you talking about, Lillis?" But I have no Steve Lillis with me today. So, Barry, what you talking about?
Well, let's be honest, Dev, I had to think about this, and I thought I'm not going to think about it.
Okay.
So I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But then we spoke about something earlier, so I think we'll go back to this WBA fiasco of champions and super champions and how that works out.
In light of Manuel Charr winning the WBA.
Yeah, Manuel Charr winning the
World
WBA title, and
Heavyweight
obviously Anthony Joshua being the WBA champion. So it's all confusing, and I think it's hard for armchair fans or fans who are not really devoted to boxing. How do you define who the world champion is? And I think the WBA, who said they're going to sort it out but haven't, and I think they need to be clear. But the fact that we have 4 world champions is confusing for people who armchair fans who don't really watch boxing day in and day out. But you sort of it's the way it is. But now having a super champion, with interim champions and champions in recess, and I don't know what some of these words mean, but it gets confusing. It really does. And I think the WBA title is worse because you go back to when Carl Froch won the world title. He lost against Andre Ward. Now I might be wrong on some of these points, but this is how I think I see how it happened. He lost to Andre Ward. Obviously, Andre Ward was WBC champion and WBA champion
In the Super 6, yeah.
Yep. And then he Froch goes back and he beats Butte in a fantastic win there in Nottingham and wins the IBF title. In the meantime, Kester picks up the WBA regular title because obviously Andre Ward is WBC and WBA super champion, which they elevate the WBA champion to super champion when he unifies or part unifies the division, which is ludicrous, but you can understand the reason behind that. And then that frees up their WBA title there for regular defences, theoretically. So then Froch wins the IBF title against Butte, then Kester wins the WBA title regular, and then they fight again, a return match, and he beats Kester.
Yeah.
So he becomes the IBF champion and WBA champion. Regular champion.
Yeah.
Though he should be super champion because he's unified the belt. Now in the meantime, somewhere down the line, I don't know what happened, whether he vacated or got stripped, but Andre Ward no longer has the WBC belt, but he still has the WBA super. But now he only has 1 belt, where Froch has 2. So Froch should be the super champion, and Andre Ward should be the regular champion, but then you can't take the super champion and demote him to the regular champion against the fight that he's already beat. How does that work out? So that theory there breaks down by itself. And even to about 2014, we had Jürgen Bremer defend his WBA light heavyweight title in Germany, and then on the same night over in Texas, Shumanov defended his WBA title on the same night in Texas. So who was the champion? I don't understand which one was super or which one was regular. I didn't know who was which.
You can't keep up.
But worse than that, in Texas that night, on the same night in the same ring, 4 people boxed for the WBA welterweight title of the world.
4 people.
4 people boxed for the WBA welterweight championship of the world in the same ring on the same night. Not all together, 2 separate fights. So I think it was Adrian Broner I can't remember Adrian Broner box now, but I know it was
Russian fella.
It was Keith Thurman versus Jesus Soto Carras in one of them, and Broner might have been Molina, maybe. But regardless who it was, but the fact is, so you had them in the same ring on the same night. So the announcer got to go, and the winner and WBA welterweight champion of the world, and the winner and WBA welterweight champion of the. Hang on, did I say that already? Have I got that wrong?
You'd be going through your lines.
Well, how'd you work that out? Madonna.
Okay.
There you go. Not Molina. Where did they get Molina from? Agus Medanda, he lost. A great win, because I'm not a fan of Broner. But that's my little bit of a rant, is where that having 4 champions is bad enough and understandable, but maybe in some ways. But having an organisation to have their own, in the end, they're going to organisations going to have their own 4 champions in each weight. So that makes it 16 champions per weight, where there was only 8 champions originally.
Back in the day.
And I only say this because, and I'm a boxing fan, and I always put myself down, and I try and stop doing it, to be honest. But being a world champion should mean something. Like, you're the best in the world, or one of the best in the world, because listen, you can't have one champion each week, because corruption, and not more corruption, people will be avoided. If you're the best ticket seller, but the best fighter in the world can't sell a ticket, he's not going to get a shot. That's what used to happen. So another organisation opened up, and then until someone else gets a monopoly on that organisation, then another one opens up, and that's how it's worked. But we see have 4 established champions, but it should mean something. And when people walk around saying they're world champion, and they're domestic level or European level, it tarnishes what it means to be a world champion. I went to a do the other night, and it was like 8 world champions there, and I'm one of them.
Yeah,
I'm proud of what I did. I was WBO Super Featherweight Champion of the world. From nowhere to being a world champion, it was fantastic. And I was a good fighter, but I was European level at best.
Are you being harsh on yourself?
No,
Barry?
I'm being. If boxing was how it should be, that was my level, which is phenomenal. No, it's phenomenal. But when I say I was in that room, I was a world champion. Then you got Alan Minter, the last unified champion we've had in this country, I think, if I'm right. No, it might be the only. Alan Minter, John Conte, they're world champions in their. No, they didn't hold the titles for long. Do you know why? Because a world champion had to be the best. So it was hard to stay the best, because you were regularly fighting the best fighters. So there's no shame in that. No, Alan Minter lost to Marvin Hagler, for God's sake. There. So there you go. And then I got to stand up and do the wave like I'm one of them. There's Jason Matthews. He was a good fighter, Jason Matthews, and he's doing the same as me. And he might not feel like I feel. He might genuinely think, yes, I am.
Yeah.
And it's good for him, because he won it, and he deserves the recognition. But you can't put yourself on the same level as them. I know some fighters are always better than others, anyway. But no, we have it's worse than it was in my day. Now we have people who are just picking up world titles, for nothing. Like,
you look at Manuel Charr, he's just become the WBA heavyweight title of the champion of the world. Is there ever going to be a time where history looks back and almost takes that away from him? Can you rob him of that?
Well, correct yourself.
Correct yourself.
Yeah, but I think in the WBA's case, it sort of should be, because they shouldn't be allowed to have 2 champions on record. You have 1 champion. I don't know how they define who that champion is. You've got to go way back to whoever was world champion before they spread it out as super champion. They might not always be the best fighter, might be the super champion. I don't know how it works, but it should be corrected, because it's not. It devalues it. It massively devalues it. It really does, and it's not fair on the fighters, because it's not the fighters' fault. You take a chance. What are you gonna say? No to a world title shot when you don't deserve it, or even if you do deserve it, why would you say no? It's not you don't pick what title to go for. We'd all be WBC champions if we could. It doesn't make you the best fighter. Joe Calzaghe was the best fighter in his weight by far for many years, and he was WBO champion. Nazim Hamid was the best fighter in his weight, and he was WBO champion. Marco Antonio Barrera was the best champion. I'm just not trying to defend the WBO belt here, but he was, and so it don't always mean the WBC is the best champion, or who's the best champion in featherweight now. Is Lee Selby the best champion? Because he's IBF champion. He could very well be.
Might be.
At one time, Frampton was probably regarded as the best, and he was WBA champion. And Gary Russell, WBC champion, is probably deemed as the 3rd, or probably the worst.
The fighter defines the belt.
I think that's the case now, where before, you'd be the best fighter, and the belt would define you as a champion. It would solidify that.
Yeah.
Would be the rubber stamped, and I'm the best, and now I got the belt to prove it. Well, now you get. Now I'm finished now, Dev. You
started you off, Barry.
You wanted a 3-hour podcast. You've got it, son. I'll stop now. I'll go on all day. But yeah, that's my opinion on it.
No, that was. I wasn't expecting.
What was the question?
To be honest, I think it was just what you're talking about, Barry, and then you just.
We still not, are we? We still not. I thought, okay, lovely.
Well, one thing for sure, in the WBA heavyweight picture, Freza Quendo will always be around. I think we can agree on that. Speaking of undefeated fighters there, we touched upon one man who is undefeated. WBO World Middleweight Champion Billy Joe Saunders, and he goes out to Montreal, Canada on December the 16th and defends his belt against David Lemieux. Our friend Kugan Cassius caught up with the champ and asked if he was looking forward to the fight.
Yeah, Coog, excited. You know, we've got Christmas on top of us, so a nice win, go through, chill out Christmas, back in New Year, and look for a big one. So, well, this is a big one, but look for a bigger one.
Is the plan for you to obviously spend a couple of weeks in Canada before, obviously, the fight, just to get used to climate, etc., time change?
Well, we've got 4 weeks now. I'll be out next week, the end of the week, 3 weeks. So I'll be out in Canada for 3 weeks doing my stuff, owning the place 3 weeks till I get in the ring, do what I've got to do, on the plane, back home. Jobs are good on that.
Saw a tweet from David Lemieux the other day actually saying, I think, a month until your ugly something gets something. Trying to bleep the words out myself, Billy.
Ugly something gets something. We'll see. Well, it's only a month till he gets an extremely tasty boxing lesson. So, listen, he can say what he wants to do. I can say what I'm going to do. But what really counts is when that bell goes ding and we've got 36 minutes in there of each other. That's what counts. Not the 100 hours we've got building up to it now. 36 minutes when the bell goes from round one or less. That's what really counts.
Do you actually rate David Lemieux as a fighter?
I rate him as a fighter. He can't box. You listen, he's knocked out a few. You know, if you do the maths on it, you know, Andy Lee's just as big as puncher, and I've been in with some big punchers. You know, so he can fight, but listen, we're not in there to fight. We're in there. I'm in there to put a display on. I'm in there to box and to showcase my skills. And I just don't see anything he's got that's going to bother me, to be honest with you.
What or are there any concerns you have about fighting in Canada? I mean, this is the first time you would have kind of travelled over the pond, if you like, to have a fight. So is there anything that concerns you about going out there?
Listen, not really. I mean, you see robberies happen everywhere now, but, you know, I know that I've got a good team around me to make sure everything's fair, to make sure it's a fair playing field. Look, if it's a close decision, you never know. The home fighter could get it, so I'm not planning on making it close. And I fancy myself to do a good job on him. And, you know, it might not even go to points.
Are you indicating that you'll be looking to knock David Lemieux out?
I'm not indicating I'm looking for anything, because if you look for it, it never comes. But I just got a feeling. that it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good. It could be a bad one, but, you know, go with your gut feeling. And listen, if I thought this job was too big for me, I wouldn't be going to Canada. Wouldn't be going there to do that. You know, this job is a good job. David Lemieux, he does what he does well, but also I do what I do well. And you put a good big man against a good small man, it's always the same story, isn't it? He's only a little short little fella, isn't he?
Off the back of your win over Willie Monroe in September, it was important to get that momentum going, you fighting a fight like this against Lemieux in December, because you've been inactive over the last 2 years, I mean, of your own admission. Yeah,
I mean, I just didn't want to go and fight once this year. I mean, if it's down to David Lemieux, then we wouldn't have happened this year. It'd have been happening next year. And I just want to be busy now. To get the big fights, you've got to be busy, and to stand a chance in winning them, you have to be active. And you know, it's the change my team around, change everything all around. So it's a new start. So I want to be out. I set a goal twice this year. I don't care who it is. I want to be out twice this year. And for my own mind, I just want to get out twice. So that's the way we are.
Just finally, obviously, the talk over the last week is that Canelo will rematch Golovkin in May next year. Your thoughts on this?
I personally think that if it goes to points again, I think that maybe you might even see, if it's anything like last time, it'd be Canelo a win, but Canelo didn't win the first one, Golovkin did. So I think Golovkin, to beat Canelo, has to knock him out. Have to.
Well, that was Billy Joe Saunders with Coogan Cassius. Barry, he said a few things there. One thing that I am so offended by, he called David Lemieux, who I believe is around 5'9", only a short little fella. Now, I'm sort of 5'6", 5'7" tops, depends the heels I got on. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. He wants to be careful. No, but I suppose, listen, I don't think the height matters. I don't. Lemieux's used to boxing people who are taller than him, and it don't matter. Billy will give him a boxing lesson. That's true.
A tasty one, he said.
Well, he probably will. But I think, I keep saying this all the time on the show on BoxNation, that watch the Undam fight, the Hassan Undam fight, and that'll give you an idea of what could happen.
He knocked him down 6 times, I think. It was like a yo-yo.
But then when Undam was on his feet,
yeah,
he was giving Lemieux a boxing lesson. Boxing tremendously well, changed direction, didn't know where he was, but every time he got caught, he was on the floor. And because Lemieux has that horrible world-class crazy power, he has that. His feet are slow, he can be outboxed, he's not the cleverest of fighters, I don't think, but he can bang. And he can bang through the duration of a fight. He still carries that power late into the fight, and so Billy has to be, and I think he's aware of that. He has to be on point, full of concentration. To concentrate, you have to be physically fit. It might sound a bit weird, that you have to be at your peak fitness to be concentrating for 12 rounds, and I think Dominic Ingle has sort of pointed on that. For every second of every round, we have to be. We have to know what we're doing, when we're doing it, where we're going. The concentration levels have to be the highest they've ever been for Billy. Billy's one of the most purest boxers we have. I sort of think off the top of my head, him and Paul Butler are probably the most purest boxers we have in the country, in my mind, traditionally. And Billy's great, and he has more power than what people give him credit for. And what
down
Lemieux
Andy Lee a
expects.
couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, Andy Lee, Andy Lee's a fantastic fighter, but he can be hurt. So I don't look too much into that. But I think Billy hit you enough to demand your respect. Don't think he has knockout power, but he can demand your respect. So people think they can walk through him, and it just doesn't work out that way. And he has the footwork and the boxing brain as well to make you chase shadows. And I think that's what will happen. But if he loses concentration or has a little bit of gets a little bit of a bite or something and wants to go and try and finish Lemieux or put it on him a little bit, he could come unstuck. This is a fight where he got to make up in his mind what he's going to do and stick to the plan. If it's a 12-round masterclass, don't deter from that plan. Don't think it's a 12-round masterclass, but I think if I put the screws in him now in the 7th, 8th round, I can maybe get a stoppage. I want to mix it with him. I don't think his power is that great, because this guy can knock you out at any time. So you have to be very, very disciplined, and if you can do that, then I think it's a great win. And more than that, it's a win that puts him a little bit closer to someone like Golovkin. Golovkin's a much better fighter than Lemieux and has more power, but not massively more power. And I think that's where Billy wants to go. He wants to go with people like Canelo and Golovkin. He wants to be up with them sort of guys, and this fight will make that a little bit easier and closer to that goal.
Well, he wants to be in the frame, doesn't he? And this will be primetime HBO, so a great opportunity to really put himself on the tip of the tongue of the US fight audience too.
Yeah, I think so. And listen, and I worry that he doesn't want to. I think he can put on a show with his boxing ability. Don't try and close the show with a tremendous knockout.
Yeah, I mean, even Golovkin's wasn't a tremendous knockout of David Lemieux. He just kind of wore him down and stopped him.
Yeah, beat him out. I think Lemieux would I wouldn't say lost his ball. That's a crazy thing. I don't think, but I think he was well aware of how hard Golovkin hits.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. That's the thing about Billy Joe. He said in an interview recently that he's not sure if he's got a good chin, but he's not sure how good it is because he's never really been caught flush by a big puncher. And you only can refer back to what you know. So I go back to me, and I've never been on the floor in my life, amateur. Sparring, playing around, never been on the floor. Took a good shot, I thought, and then I've been against some decent punchers, I thought, but I went against a world class puncher my very last fight, and he knocked me down 6 times, and I spent most of the fight trying to get up than I did boxing.
That's very tennis.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculously one-sided, but I didn't know what it was like to get hit by a world class puncher until he hit me, and you just don't know what to do.
I don't think we've ever seen Billy Joe hurt.
No,
certainly not.
Billy Joe's a better fiiter than me, so that helps him there. And Lemieux's not maybe as good a fighter as the guy who beat me as well. So I think Billy goes in the favourite, and he should win. But when you get hit by a world class puncher, it's a shock to the system. You don't know how you're going to react. Like all these things, we talk about prospects, how they're going to react when this happens. We talk about Anthony Yarde, in a competitive fight, and what happens when he keep patience when he's in against a guy who he can't hurt and all that sort of stuff. And again, it's even though it's at world level, the same for Billy. Until he gets really hurt, which could happen, on the 16th of December. Until he gets really hurt, how will he react? No, I think he has the boxing brain and ability to make this fight a relatively easy night, but Lemieux at some stage will catch him, and how Billy reacts there will give us a little gauge of how he'll react when he's up against someone like a Canelo or more certainly a Golovkin.
Well, that fight is for the WBO World Middleweight Championship on December 16th. That's live on BoxNation. Go to BoxNation.com and subscribe there. It's just £12 a month. This weekend, we've got a fight for the WBO Super Welterweight Championship of the world. And it's a farewell fight, and I'm going to use inverted commas there in terms of farewell fight. It's Miguel Cotto against Saddam Ali. And, well, Miguel says it's his last fight. Fighters always say it's their last fight. Before we go into that, Barry, Steve Lillis caught up with Frank Warren, and here's what Frank had to say.
This weekend, Miguel Cotto, Saddam Ali. Do you think it'll be Cotto's final fight when he defends his WBO junior middleweight title fight?
Well, he said it's going to be. In some ways, I hope it's not, because I want to see him fight Airman Liam Smith. He's a final eliminator against Liam Williams in Newcastle a few weeks ago, so that'd be a great fight. But if it is, then the title will be vacant, and then Liam will have to fight for the vacant title.
If Cotto does win, and even if he says he's retiring at the press conference, will you put in a little fax to Golden Boy on Monday morning?
Monday morning, it'll be there. Before they get to their office, it'll be on their desk. What is happening, fellas?
Could it be the sort of fight almost like a Barrera Khan, where you pack an arena because everyone will come to see Cotto?
Well, let's get it right. He's been a great fighter, hasn't he, over the years? He's been a fantastic fighter. And he deserves it. When you look at the amount of time, length of time, I should say, he's been around. But it would be nice for him to fight our man. But for something tells me inside this is going to be his last fight. He's very wealthy. He's looked after his money. I think he's never ducked anybody, has he? He's fought everybody there is to fight. He's been a fantastic servant to the sport.
You mentioned Liam Smith there earlier on. He's going to be sweating on what's happening after the Cotto fight against Saddam Ali. What hopes you got for Liam Williams next year to bring him back?
Well, he's got to come back, hasn't he? He's busted up his hand, so his trainer and manager Gary Lockett told me, so hopefully get his hand sorted out as soon as he's ready to box. We'll do a show down in Wales with him.
So Barry, Frank Warren would of course like to get Liam Smith in with Miguel Cotto, or we'd like to get him in with the winner, and we're expecting that to really be Miguel Cotto this weekend. Can he do it? Is this Cotto's last fight? Why is he fighting Saddam Ali?
I think it is his last fight, because it is Saddam Ali. It's not a big name. And first of all, I thought, why ain't he fighting a name that we all sort of can get excited about? That's first of all. And then I thought, if any fighter in recent memory deserves a win to go out on, it's Cotto. The people he's boxed, and the names he's boxed, it's not always been on his terms. Let's be honest. Like Mayweather's career goes sort of underrated. He's boxed some tremendous fights, but it's all been on his terms. All those fights have been all on his terms. After the De La Hoya fight, he's run the show. But not for Cotto. He had to just take fights on other boxers' terms, and he's been tremendous and one of my favourite fighters. I know Steve Lillis, if he was here now, which he should be, it's his favourite fighter maybe ever, and he's been great. So he gets to win. It's not a given. No, Ali's a good fighter.
He's welterweight though, isn't he? Really?
Yeah, but Cotto's not a big fella. No, he's not at all. Cotto. He just age and grown into weights. Really, that's all that is. But I think welterweight is where Cotto has been probably the most effective in his career. And I think he gets a stoppage against Ali. I think Ali's got fast hands, can box quite well. But if Jesse Vargas, I know Jesse's a good fighter and younger, but if he can dominate Ali and sort of like block and walk through those fast shots, then I think Cotto can still do it. Though Cotto walk through a big strong camera guy in his last defence. I know camera guy was made for him, and you can hit camera guy with your eyes closed because he just stands in front of you. And Ali's a better boxer than that, but I don't think he's nowhere near as physically as strong. And I think Cotto gets the win, and I think he will retire. Though I remember when he got beat by Canelo, and his wife was in the ring crying, going, oh, no, let it be enough now, or something like that. And he was almost crying back, going, but this is all I know.
Yeah, that's a
You know what I mean? It was beautiful to see, and almost like heartbreaking as well. To think he got all the money in the world. Cotto. He's in tens of millions of dollars, but he's going, this is all I know. What else am I going to do with my life? And obviously he's maybe found something now, or he's resigned himself to being, let's enjoy the money, enjoy your family, and to finish your career a rich man with the recognition and the respect of your peers and your fans, and go out with all your senses intact is a rare and a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, I have my doubts. I just remember in recent memory when we had Mayweather versus Berto on the channel, and we had Floyd Mayweather shooting with Steve Lillis. He looked directly down the camera. Barry, he looked at me. He looked directly down the camera at me, and he said, "Hey guys, it's my last ever fight. Come and subscribe to BoxNation." Yeah,
but that's Mayweather, and he hasn't had the same career as Cotto. Cotto's had a hard career. A standout career, but it's a hard career. It's a hard fight. He's had million wars. Mayweather hasn't, and Mayweather's a bigger showman, and you never believe what comes out of his mouth, because he's always about sell.
More for me.
He's a salesman. He might even fight again, as silly as it is. You know what I mean? So, I wouldn't. I think it's different. I think Cotto. I think he's been more heart on his sleeve type of guy, and if he might fight again, but if he says this is his last fight, then right now he means it. Right now he might go back, but he certainly doesn't need the money, and so that's a good thing. That most fighters go back because they need them. They miss the limelight, they miss the people calling your name, and that's hard for us all, even little fighters like me. But I would only have gone back for the money, because I didn't earn big money like these guys are earning.
He's earned his
but
money.
he's earned it all and everything, and he'd have all that respect, and he'd be a shoe in 5 years' time for the Hall of Fame, and and that just keeps. If you're thinking about going back, then you got that to look forward to, I think, and that's great.
Well, that is live this Saturday night on BoxNation. That's Miguel Cotto versus Saddam Ali for the WBO World Super Welterweight Championship. Just go to boxnation.com and subscribe there. It's only £12 a month, and that kicks off a stunning December schedule. Just have a look at our schedule page. We've got Cotto versus Ali. The following week there's Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux. That's late at night. Before that there's the James DeGale show from the Copper Box. The week after that there's Saunders versus Lemieux. It just keeps on coming. Do not miss out. So this week, coming up on BoxNation, there's a few little dates for your diary. We're leading into Cotto versus Gill this Saturday night. Cotto versus Saddam Ali this Saturday night. But on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, we look back at Miguel Cotto's win over Daniel Gill. This was a kind of highlight reel KO heading into his Canelo fight. Do you remember that fight, Barry?
What fight? I wasn't listening. Do you want to be honest? I wasn't listening, Dev. I was thinking,
go on.
You're doing a really good job.
Go on. I'm waiting for the butt.
You missed Corcoran out.
Yeah.
You missed Corcoran Horn out. You missed it out. We'll have to do this again now, I think. But
no,
this is ridiculous. This is live
boxing.
broadcasting at its worst. This is absolutely garbage. Well, no wonder Steve Lillis didn't turn up.
Wednesday night boxing.
Couldn't get the press down from Manchester, he said.
I am not used to Wednesday morning boxing. Thank you, producer Andrew. Wednesday morning boxing. It gets worse. Either way, Barry, the message is very clear here. You should subscribe to BoxNation.
Yeah, man.
It's only £12 a month, and there's 24/7 boxing.
I say this: if you can afford it, and you're a boxing fan, and you don't have BoxNation, then you're not really a boxing fan. That's what, if you can afford it. This is all money. I understand if you can't. I understand all that, and can't pay for everything if maybe. But if you're a boxing fan and you can afford that £12 a month, why wouldn't you have BoxNation? And I know I want to keep my job and all the rest of it, but I would say that anyway. If I didn't have the channel, if I wasn't involved with the channel, I think it's been great for showing fights. As all listen, there's boxing right now is on every channel you can think of, and that's fantastic for armchair fans that never had it so good. And I'm an armchair fan now, and I haven't had it so good, and I love it. My whole schedule of recorded things on my TV box is just full of boxing I haven't watched yet, and one day I'll get to sit down and see it all.
Well, don't worry, I won't keep you too much longer, Barry. I know
I'm keeping you. This is it. Now you've asked for it. You asked me, you got me.
Thursday, 2 o'clock, we've got a special show on BoxNation. It's a series called A Fight to Remember. So what this entails is a few of the guys involved in the fight, or pundits that were there, or even the promoter sitting down on a sofa and looking back on a fight. Thursday, 2 o'clock, it's David Haye versus Derek Chisora. I think Frank Warren's on the sofa looking back. Was that the last good David Haye that we've seen, Barry?
Well, it was, yeah, of course, most definitely. We haven't seen it nowhere near that. That was a good David Haye. That was a good Chisora, actually. To gotta be fair, that really was. He showed his toughness there, Chisora. We got caught with a really good shot. It's a good night, actually, good bill.
And it's a good show, so make sure you catch that Thursday, 2 o'clock. Thursday, 7 o'clock, it's the Cassius and Helder show. You know Coogan and you know James, and this week they're catching up with Gary Corcoran, who, as we know, thanks Barry for reminding me, he's got a big fight coming up. He catches up with Leon Woodstock as well, and a couple of others. And then Friday, 7 o'clock, Barry, you tell me about this show that's on Friday at 7 o'clock.
It's the only live boxing show in the world today. It's the Buncey's Boxing Hour, but we're going to change. It's just 6 months time. It'll be Barry's Boxing Hour within a matter of 6 months. I guarantee it. But yeah, me and Steve on the sofa with whoever we got on. I haven't got a clue. I never got told until the Thursday. But it doesn't matter. This is fantastic. We get the review, preview, talk to guests. A little bit like this.
Yeah.
But better.
Yeah.
Because you get to see me rather than just hear me.
Yeah. Well, that is a treat for BoxNation fans. And not only is that just live on BoxNation, but it's also live on the BoxNation Facebook page as well. So that really opens up a whole new audience for you, Barry.
It's on. It's. Am I getting it right now? Free to air as well.
Free to
air. Is that the right
Absolutely.
thing? I can tell. It's on free to air as well, and obviously the Facebook thing, which is great because I get to watch myself on the way home in the cab then.
Absolutely.
It's very strange. Get to see all the bad things people say about me, and then I go and cry.
No, but Barry,
cry myself in my pillow.
I'm just hoping this isn't true. I'm sure it isn't. People don't say bad things about Barry Jones.
So I've just had to align myself with people who. No, I thought right then. So like I'm getting slagged off a little bit.
Yeah.
So start just aligning myself with people who the public dislike more.
Okay.
So I've So I've started that today. Like I thought I'd start doing that today.
Me? I just realised where you were going with that,
That's
Barry.
right, Dave.
I'm sure,
joking, pal.
a few weeks in, I'm going to be as loved as... No, I won't be. I won't be. And of course, on Saturday night, live from 2 a.m. from New York, it's Miguel Cotto versus Saddam Ali, as we have talked about. How do I subscribe to BoxNation? I can hear you all say, well, it's easy, isn't it, Barry? How about you tell me?
Well, you just go to www.boxnation.com
Yeah.
and follow the online instructions, Deb.
Easy.
How was that? You thought you couldn't do it, didn't you?
No, I knew
Trying to
you
catch
could.
me outside, you got no chance.
Well, Barry, that's it for this week. I have hugely enjoyed your company. I'm sure you have enjoyed mine.
It's been a lovely day. It's been brilliant. It's nice. It's been nice meet you for the first time.
Yep.
Have we met before? I don't know.
A couple of times.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
got pictures and everything.
It's
Okay.
been nice.
Well, remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at Barry Jones Box. I'm sure everyone listening already follows you on Twitter. They don't follow me, so please do follow me. I got 8 new followers last week, and that was great. So that's at Sahni Dev, and leave us a review as well on iTunes. That will help with the visibility of the show, and it will keep me and sometimes Barry in your ear. Thanks very much for joining us, and until next week, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Well then, Dev, good job.
Nice one.